All right, all right, all right. Okay, let's start the session. So, agents, right? Suits. I mean, from the show, the agents are called suits because you always have to present yourself as, the presentable person, the charmer, right? It's definitely not an easy job. So, why do our guests introduce themselves? So, what you do, what roles do you play? Yep. Start from you.
Sure. Hi, so I'm Meeta. I'm from SGAG. So I head up research over there. So SGAG has a content arm and a creator network as well. And where my role comes in is really to bridge that gap, for creators, for brands, in terms of consumer data.
Hi everyone, my name is Haroon. I lead experiences in Mindshare and work closely on Unilever to build their content and partnerships practices globally.
Hi, I'm Tryke, Gutierrez, the CEO and co-founder of Tier 1 Entertainment. So we patterned the company towards the K-pop entertainment companies of Korea, but we're applying that whole model in esports and gaming. So currently we have 200 people working in the company, 1,000 creators present in 5 countries: Japan, Malaysia, Philippines, Myanmar, and the Philippines. So yeah, that's who I am.
How do I beat that? Oh my God. Good morning, everybody. My name is Jeremiah. I'm the chief cheerleader of Superminted. Yeah, so just imagine me in spandex and waving my pom-poms around in the office. Superminted, marketing, branding company, agency that works with brands and also creators, but just like Meeta, not that one. We bridge the gap, okay? Not by literally building bridges, but building connections, which is a metaphor for bridges. So excited to be here. Round of applause for us, man. Woo, woo, woo.
All right, we're going to make this really fun. So we have agents. Agents that actually represent talent and to teach them how to be great, authentic, and monetizable. And also we have the agencies that represent brands, right? They're bridging the gap. So Tryke, I'll start with you. Do you think creators, just on honest note, right? Do you think creators requires an agent or manager?
Yeah, I think so. Generally, at the end of the day, the whole ecosystem is a very freelance-driven ecosystem. But, just like in any industry, I think institutions provide a very long-term solutions to things. Like for example, when we were starting out, we started out as a purely talent management. And we had like 7 to 8 talents that signed up because nobody believed that we can do what we are doing now because we're in gaming and everybody was like, why will you put up a talent management in gaming? Like there's not even opportunities in gaming. Like what's the point, right? But I think like looking at it today, what Tier 1 was able to bring to the industry was to put certain frameworks, institutions, and people on the back end that will actually professionalize and institutionalize the things that we're doing and the way we're connecting brands to the creators. I think we're working with GroupM and Unilever and all of the other brands, and I think the conversation that happens between a creator and a brand is so much different with the conversations that we're doing with our chief commercial officer and the different brands, right? So I think from that angle, I think that's a big difference already.
Right. Would you like Alex's mom? Just kidding. No, we love Alex's mom, obviously. But so Meeta, let's talk about data, right? Because you handle a lot of data, and I think data is a new oil, and I think it's the most authentic way. If it is the most authentic way to quantify, I guess the success of the creators or the partnership. So tell us about what you do in terms of that role. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think data is really important, not just from an SGAG, for example, content perspective, but also from a creator perspective as well. I think it's important for creators to be, really looking at the data that they have readily accessible to them. So, like really studying metrics like your reach, your engagement, your percentage of video watched even, for example. And really just understanding the patterns that are emerging from those data sets, really understanding like what Alex said earlier as well, understanding what works for your audiences, knowing your audiences as well. So, in a gist, try to find a sort of a concept that, has worked for you, an overarching concept, and really position that to brands that you work with, right? So look at those concepts and find how they've sort of yielded results and position them in front of brands and say that, okay, hey, this is what I know works for this product or category, and I have data to prove that as well. And yeah, I mean, you would come across as a more effective creator for brands, right, who are looking for results. So yeah.
So you are actually in a perfect position that's between different agencies, right? Because you will work with Tryke, I believe that, oh yeah, and then Tryke will be like, yes, these are my creators, have so many big numbers. You're like, yes, and then you talk to the guys like Mindshare and also Superminted, the agency that actually with brands, right, for them to kind of, I guess, lubricate the relationship between the brands and the creators. So going back to the big brands, right? Are you guys competitors?
No one is competing.
It's a frenemy situation right here. No, nobody's competing.
We are collaborators. Hey, fist bump!
All right, I might give you guys a brief afterwards, so see how you guys can collaborate. But let's start with Haroon, right? Mindshare, come on, what clients do you guys not have, right? I'm sure you guys work with a lot of creators, you recommend a lot of creators to brands. How does that actually work? How do you actually draw the picture for brands?
So it's a tough question, but I think where we stand now, and especially the kind of data and the tools and technologies that are available, I think the life is becoming much more simple and easy. So what we do is we have our internal frameworks as well and tools. So GroupM has their own agency, which is called Inca. So they have been speaking on this session as well. So we work with them as well. So they basically help us identify which creators are relevant for our brands, especially like all the data that is available now from their relevance scores to their engagement matrices to their performance numbers, everything is available. So we basically look at those data sets and then advise our clients, okay, these are the creators that can be relevant for the brand, because relevancy is very important, because what Alex was earlier saying that, right? So she may not be a good parenting influencer, but she has a very different set of experiences when as a creator. So we also work with a lot of independent agencies as well. So we are working with the Tier 1 as well for a few of our campaigns. So because the ecosystem is expanding, right? So there is no competition. Everybody is bringing their own unique solutions on the table, and we are very open to work with agencies that are bringing something new and innovation on the table. And especially like working on brands like Unilever, they're always looking for very advanced set of solutions, because those were the days when we used to create those basic hygiene influencer short form videos, but now things are moving really fast, especially in terms of immersive commerce, live commerce, shoppertainment. A lot of things are happening. And now with the rise of gaming, that's opening up a new scheme of things. So I think everything is changing, and we are also changing our ways of working with creators as well.
Right, Jeremiah, I'm sure. Do you use the same set of metrics as as Haroon, or you guys have your own sort of set of metrics, or what do you guys do as Superminted?
In relation to?
To recommending creators, working with brands, and all that. Yeah.
Okay, what I would say, right, is in agreement with what Haroon said, and also what Alex said previously in the segment that just happened. It is all about relevancy. We have to understand, firstly, objective of the brand. WTF the brand wants to do, right? If we don't understand and we recommend creators or personalities that do not match the objectives and their KPI, they will never ever work with us ever again, right? That's the whole purpose of an agency, is to be that middle person, I don't want to get cancelled, right? And to be the gatekeeper to represent the interests of the client and the interests of the creator. So when it comes to data, of course we need to do our due diligence and then find out, okay, this creator, if a F&B client wants to work with a F&B creator, we need to make sure it's relevant. Because even in F&B, OMGF, there is so many different tiers and funnels, I can be a Miss Bento. She literally does bento, right? But what if the brand wants to do, I don't know, what's another kind of cooking thingy technique? Someone help, huh?
Frying.
Yeah, frying, right? Or somebody who just blends things. It doesn't match anymore, right? So it boils down to one thing, my friends. If you are paying attention to whatever I'm saying, take away this one thing. purpose of intent. If it matches, then it is a match made in heaven.
But the thing is, I've also heard a lot of brands, they don't know what they want or who they want as well, right? Because I've definitely heard of that. They're not giving enough good brief or very vague brief. And in that case, how do you guys actually try to make the magic and help them, to kind of help them know what they want to know?
Make magic. Dude, we are not magicians, okay? We are humans. But that's actually a very, very good point because I'm pretty sure half of the people here are all brands, right? And brands don't really
I
know
think
what
we're
they wanna
upcoming micro creators and creators, right? So, yeah.
Yeah, I think, let me chime in on that. I think the conversation with brands are always like when they go to us, we want to tap Gen Zs and millennials. Like, that's such a wide net, right? Like,
Yeah,
obviously
exactly.
everybody wants to tap
I
Gen
mean,
Zs
yeah.
and millennials. Like, that's what everybody wants. But at the end of the day, like, how do you localize a certain marketing activity to be able to gather that? And I think the sentiment that I have with that is, since linear TV, like this whole social media ecosystem that we have today, I think attention is generally decentralized. It's like the Pandora's box that has been opened and we can't ever put it back. So when people talk about omni-channel, 360 linear types of campaigns, I don't think in this day and age that exists anymore. So I think the way to go about it is really, how do you localize? How do you put your focus on localization? And I think that's the power of creators, because for each creator, they have a certain community that they tap, certain demographics, certain geography. And as long as an agency continuously, gravitates different types of creators, at least for us in gaming, then we get to expand our horizon in different communities and different geographies based on that premise, basically.
And just wanted to add one more point. So that's why I think agency's job is very tough, because understanding brief is really important.
Yes.
Because sometimes, like,
Or clarifying the
yeah,
briefs, right?
So nobody is in the business of crafting like strong briefs, right? So that's what we really need to debunk or like decode, like what exactly brand is looking for. Because creator's job is to create content, right? And brand's job is to get the content and distribute it, right? But agency's job is to basically understand each and every single point that is mentioned on the brief. Because if nobody is understanding the brief, then the output is not up to the mark. And then at the end, the blame game starts. So brand will blame creator will say that I'm going to delete that video because it's not up to my expectation. Then
Right,
that relationship
exactly.
is not working very well.
Yeah, Jeremiah, what about you?
Oh, no. I just agree to Haroon, man. I'm echoing his sentiments. Wow. But the thing is, I think apart from understanding that all of us serve a purpose, one of the main things we also need to understand is education. Because, right, creators, like you just said, they create. Do they really know coming up with a brief? Maybe not. So we need to start with education and educating the industry, because change can only happen like when the four of us gets our shit together and be like, hey, industry, let's empower it together. So educating, and it starts with briefs. If not, people will be finger pointing and it's going to be like a horrible, horrible affair.
So Meeta, do you think in terms of data standpoint, this is something that you can supplement that to help brand understand, to give clear briefs?
I mean, we do run exercises internally as well, to sort of really see, because, okay, there are all sorts of briefs, right? There's like briefs that are really sort of anal and you don't have any flexibility or any room to change anything, or there are briefs that are more flexible and sort of allow the creator creative freedom as well. So we do conduct exercises internally to sort of, understand how the different briefs have ultimately performed. And according to that, we would go back to our clients and say that, hey, this may not end up working based on what we have seen thus far. So yeah, I mean, to Jeremiah's point on education as well, it is important for us to be educating our brand partners on creative freedom and authenticity for creators.
Okay, so I think in terms of data point, I might stir something right now, because everybody is talking about data versus creativity, right? Would you say that data is limiting creativities?
No.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Just asking.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. I think, they both need to be seen to go hand in hand. Like I said earlier as well, it's really about using data to empower your creativity rather than it limiting anything.
Okay, because I'm sure some ECDs would be like, what is this? And they're still recommending, using it. And sometimes the clients just insist to use these creators as well. Sometimes you're like, okay, I'm not sure if it's gonna work out, but does that happen to you sometimes? No, even if you recommend a set of creators, they're like, actually, we still want to use Alex because she's the biggest creators in the Philippines.
I think it happens because sometimes personal interests come into the conversation as well, because I may like a influencer, which is like very much known in my circle or within my family. So marketers sometimes prefer those kind of influencers. But honestly, data has helped a lot, because sometimes what you can't push to clients, data basically helps to do that. And I think it's also very important because data is a very broad term. There's so much data available. So I think we really need to be very clear what data are we looking for and how are we going to use it. So that's, I think, really important. And especially like, as I was mentioning earlier, the technology is like helping all these complex decisions very easy for brands to follow now. So data is definitely helping creativity. And I think it's a strong enabler to drive creativity. And I think with the help of that, outputs definitely creates a bigger impact.
Yeah, I think as the saying goes, right, like stats don't lie, but people do. So I think it's very important to really look into the data, because I think in terms of like our conversations with a lot of brands, like obviously sometimes the challenge becomes the marketer always thinks that they are the market. That is usually the problem of like any marketer. I'm a marketer myself, so that's kind of like the pitfall that happens with the thought process of how marketers think about things, and the data is what's going to point them towards a different direction. So I think it's necessary and it's very, very important.
Right. Jeremiah, it's your turn.
Okay, data. Honestly, to answer your question, Brittany, yes, sometimes data kills creativity.
Yeah, exactly. Does it?
I'm gonna play devil's advocate here because these are all very like vanilla answers,
Yeah.
man. Come on, let's
Yeah,
spice it up a bit.
woohoo!
No, just kidding. But when it comes to data, okay, and analytics, we have to understand that it's just a bunch of numbers. I was hoping for some audience participation, but okay, whatevs. It is a bunch of numbers. But these numbers, right, are interpreted by humans and people. I'm trying my best. And like what Haroon said, people always have their own agenda. And when it comes to brands, sometimes the human element comes into the mix of data, interpret, even though maybe this is the perfect creator, right, for Vans, if Elijah is still here, to work with. But I mean, Elijah is a good guy. I'm not saying him, maybe his team, okay? Be like, nah, not really. I want to work with this person because family friend.
Exactly.
Right,
Family friend.
OMG. Then like Meeta and whatever she just did is mute.
Exactly.
It's moot. So, I mean, life happens, but all of us, we always want to always represent the best interests of all parties involved. And if data comes into the mix and kills creativity, then okay lah, suck it up, suck thumb, move on, and then go on to the next campaign. But creators should always create, because, like what Tryke said, there is an ocean of opportunity out there, and data is just a small subset.
I just want to make one more point. So I think data is not only for us, right? So data is also for creators as well. So I'm not sure how many creators basically go and analyze their content using the power of data. Anybody does it?
Actually, we do it. So in tier
because
one,
it's also very important for them to understand, right? Because it's not that, okay, brands need to just see the data and analyze, okay, which creator we need to work, but from a creator's perspective, it's really important so that they can see like how audience is reacting to their content. So if you guys are using data, I think that's a really good approach.
yeah. So one thing that we have in tier one is we're subscribed to Meltwater. That's the software that we have, and we utilize that to be able to have a data day with our creators. And I think one thing that we always talk about, because there's so much metrics, engagements, reach, and all that, right? So much. But what we look at least for gaming, is share of voice. Because you look at a certain game like Call of Duty, Dota, Mobile Legends, there are certain share of voice statistics available for each game that shows who is the most relevant creator. And I think with that as a localized data, right, it becomes so much easier for brands to dissect, okay, this is the PC game that people resonate to. I mean, when it comes to my brand, and then who's the highest share of voice, and then it's easy to point who's the creator to work with.
Sorry, wow. Tryke ignited something in me, man. When he said data-driven creatives, wow, that is a very, very powerful statement. Because, right, people like Mr. Beast or people like Nosaya, Nas Daily, they are hyper-obsessed about their analytics. Every single piece of video they push out, every single article they push out, every single content they push out, they will analyze it so much so that they want to prime themselves up for success. Everybody say, wow. Okay, thank you. Only this side is listening to me. So, as creators, you really, really need to obsess over your data, not from a vanity point of view, right? Because if you do that, you're going to kill yourself eventually. But it's from a success point of view, because every single creator, they choose to be creators. They don't do it accidentally. Whoever says they are an accidental creator is BS, okay, in my opinion. But you need to obsess over your data, because then you prime yourself for success. Yes, thank you.
Jesus.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. It is exactly. I think as creators, I think it's important while you're being on platforms, right? Have to understand how to use the algorithm. Did I just say it right? And then also not only being authentic, creating your own content, but also make sure you know how to leverage, right? To actually help you to gain more viewership or even more subscribers. So, okay, I have another question. So let's say in the perfect world, great brand, clear brief, great data, the right creators, one issue, no budget. And the creator and they want the biggest creators in the world. How would you, mediate that?
We have competitors available for their taking. Because for us, right, like at the end of the day, like I think the leverage in any negotiation and conversation is always if you're ready to walk out the room.
Right.
And I think being able to say no to opportunities like that is also powerful. So I think when we sign up all the creators that we have, we also are obliged to say no to those things, because you're not just affecting one creator in one deal. You're also setting a premise for the whole market that, we can be taken for just a few amount of dollars. But what some brands and what some clients don't realize is the amount of OPEX and research and history that comes with everything that we do. So just two things. One, for the institution of an agency, it requires so much back-end work, so much systems, processes, and whatnot that were created and has cost. That's one. Second is for the creator, right? Like every creator that you sign, you're not just working with them just for the reach. Like you're also paying for their history, credibility, issues that they've went through, the resilience that they've learned. Like all of those come into play when you're working with a creator. So I think you should also know your value, and you need to be able to know when to walk out of a deal.
Yeah.
So in my point of view, there's always a budget, right? But it depends like the scale and the scope of the activity. But honestly, if there is no budget, then I think nobody should enter into that conversation, because maybe you do it for building a relationship, but at then nobody is putting their skin in the game, right? At then nobody will say, okay, whether it was a success or it was a failure. So I would suggest that maybe we should stop that campaign and don't do it, because what's the point of doing a campaign if there is no budget? Even from a creator standpoint, they can create a content, but they have done their job. But from a brand side, if they're not marketing it properly, they're not promoting it properly, you won't be able to get the desired results, because in today's agent time, there's nothing organic.
Right.
Because you really need paid marketing to basically put your content in front of the consumer. Whether it's an influencer, how many followers or whatever reach he or she can bring on the table, you still need paid marketing to promote that content.
What about maybe a little bit of a budget, right? Like, oh, maybe we're entering recession, we're getting a budget cut, that kind of thing, rather than just, I'm sure with agencies, especially brands work with agencies, right? They know that no budget's not gonna, do anything, right? What if they're like, oh, it's a good client. They're like, we have some budget, we also want to work with these talent, because based on all the data, everything is right? And in that case, Jeremiah, have you run into any issues like that, or do you have any suggestions?
Well, I have a mantra in Superminted. No budget, no talk.
No
Thank
money,
you.
no honey.
No, but okay, in all seriousness, if you haven't noticed, I'm actually quite serious throughout this entire conversation, is that for creators, it is, okay, once again, playing devil's advocate, sometimes it is good to work with a brand if there is no budget, only if it builds your own portfolio. Same thing with agencies, right? Sometimes I take on I wouldn't say pro bono, but really like budget, like okay, 5 plates of chicken rice. We will take it on. Why? Because it adds to our portfolio and it also beefs up the relationship with the client. So whether, okay, education with brands, whoever's in this room, Spotify or whatever, please, education, please be nice. For agencies and for creators, we always want to build a relationship. And I always believe that any good campaign should never be transactional, should always be relational, right? Even if it's through a creator or through an agency, whatever it may be. So, if you do not have budget, then you need to align expectations. We say, okay, this campaign, we'll do it for like X dollars. But if we do a good job, or if we hit certain, we do like a MOU, Memorandum of Understanding. If we hit certain KPIs or objectives, next campaign, 3x, okay, bitch? I mean, 3x, okay, sir, ma'am, so that it builds a good relationship. But, honesty, best policy. Whatever Tryke and Haroon said, if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. Take the monopoly deal card and just say no.
Right. Okay. I think it's very interesting. You actually sound like a talent agent that who knows how to negotiate with brands. But I do think
Tryke,
that
is there an opening? You know?
yeah, some potential business deal. But I do think it's really interesting because I mean, even with us, I think it was telling everyone we used to work some of the biggest talents in the world when it comes to brands in China. Sometimes, they're like, oh yeah, what's her budget? Don't worry about it. We got so much money, right? Yeah, we want like Robert Downey Jr., the Iron Man dude, or Taylor Swift. I'm like, are you sure that's what you want, right? And sometimes, I mean, the thing is, they had budget, right? And all of a sudden they're like, oh, actually, we give the suggestions and the creators are like, actually, I don't think we can afford that or something like that. And then sometimes they're like, do you want to do this deal or do you not want to do this deal? And also you do want to maintain the relationship with the brands as well, right? So I think a little bit of a negotiations, also building for the future, like you said. Okay, maybe I would do this little thing for you, but the next campaign, you have to, right? Work with me, give and take, or something like that. So which is very interesting. Sorry, I'm just poking everybody on this.
Meeta haven't gone through the.
That's true,
hiring
Meeta.
range.
And any words to add from your perspective?
I mean,
No budget.
So I mean, at SGAG, to Jeremiah's point, to build the relationship, there are value adds that we do. So we provide them, okay, we're going to do this campaign for a certain amount, and we'll throw something in as well. But literally just echoing their sentiments, right? If it's too big of an ask, then we need to learn when to say no.
Okay, just say no in a polite way, I guess. Okay, on that note, thank you so much for the fun panel, and please give everybody a round of applause, and make sure to stay successful or success.